Hello and welcome to Comfort Legacies with Fay Michelle. And today we are pleasantly bringing to you Mr. Darryl Harvey. And so, Darryl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Faye. How's everything with you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let's start by having you introduce yourself and we'll begin this journey.
Sure. My name is Darryl Harvey. I am a children's author and poet from Chicago.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got started.
So I began writing, or my interest in writing began a long time ago, like my senior year of high school. I suddenly became interested in poetry. And so as I graduated from high school, I went off to college. I majored in journalism. And so, taking journalism courses, English courses, and I started putting together what would be my first portfolio.
Okay.
Of course, the, those first poems, looking back at them now, sucked.
Oh, they probably weren't so bad. You
Horrible.
just evolve and were they graded?
Actually, I took a couple of poetry classes, which, I thought was real interesting. It was like my professor, who was a professor for the first course and the second course. I mean, basically, all we did was write poems, submit them, read them in class, and folks got to add in their little 2 cents of what they thought of them. But it helped along the way
Okay.
because after that, after I got out of school, out of college, that's when we got to going to the poetry clubs. And I'm in Chicago, and so I went to a couple of poetry clubs way back in the day. And that is, I guess, where I really got to be more adventurous with what I was writing because I got to hear and see other styles.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
to, and I finally developed what would become mine.
When did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer? Are you saying that it happened when you were in high school or when did that bug really hit and you just started moving in that direction toward books?
It wasn't until years later, actually, when I took a look at the collection of poetry that I had and said, well, what you going to do with it?
Mhm.
And so I had looked at it and I thought, there's enough here to self-publish a title, a book. And I'm the kind of guy that goes for it. So I said, let's do it. What could happen? And so I did it. And so from that first book, which was called Loving a Black Woman, I got a favorable review out of Sister to Sister magazine. And from there, that just started the journey, and we just have kept going since then. Now I'm 11 books in.
Wow. Now, when was that? When you wrote your first book?
I believe that was like 2003, 2004.
How many pages was that?
Like 70, 75.
So, because you said it was a book of poetry, right?
Right.
And so you had a lot of poems.
This was over the course of quite a few years.
So was it just a book of total poetry, or because the title was interesting, you said Loving a Black Woman, but so was there a storyline associated with it or just poetry?
Straight poetry,
Really?
broken up into 3 chapters of lust, of love, and heartbreak. This book was supposed to look at the feelings for Black women by Black men, the kind of stuff that we feel but don't always share with our women,
Wow. And all through poetry.
all through poetry.
That's awesome. I love that concept because
Thank you.
you don't think of it like that. The title, like they say, you can't tell a book by its cover, right? But it usually probably I would have thought it would have been something that said, poetry for Black women or whatever. But so I really like that, loving a Black woman.
Yeah,
And just.
I think at the time that I wrote that, there was a lot of conversation going on about Black relationships and a lot of things that were being written about them. However, they would either be written from a female point of view or from a non-Black point of view. But there
Mm,
wasn't anything really being written by or from the Black male point of view.
I
So
think
I
that's
did it,
still true.
yeah, I did it poetically.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you moved from there, and what was your next book?
Oh gosh. My next book after Loving a Black Woman was still poetry, and it was called Deal with the Devil, the Fire and the Flame.
Oh,
And that book looks at still relationships, but it looks at losing a great love, but then moving on to find new love.
okay. I think I saw that one on your site.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All of my books are there on my site.
I love those titles. So tell me about moving forward, I believe, your children's book.
Yeah. So after, well, still while writing poetry, of course, that wasn't paying any bills really. So I have had a career in social services.
Okay.
And through social services, I did some mentoring and I began mentoring a very young boy as a favor to somebody. And this young boy, he was only like 6 years old, but everybody in his life was female. He lived in a home with his adopted mother and his sister, and his teacher was a female. His babysitter was a female. He had absolutely no male influence. And so I was asked as a favor to spend some time with him, and I mentored him for like a year. And through that, I got inspired to write a children's book for little boys. And that book is called I Can Do Anything. And it's a book that's written for someone in the just beginning to learn how to read, kindergarten age, and it reviews numbers, colors, and shapes. And actually, that this little guy behind me
Yeah.
is the book cover for that book, and it shows this handsome little guy who's standing tall and proud. And the name of the book is I Can Do Anything, and it is. Uh, Even though I've written maybe 6 children's books, it's still my bestseller. People love that book.
Really?
Yes.
So it's not a part of a series.
Oh,
It's
it's the
it's
first book in the series.
it's the first book in the series.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So since you mentioned that one of your bestsellers, how do you promote your books?
Well, I spend time on social media, of course, but I I love to get out and go to actual book fairs. Being that contact with the public and being able to talk to people is really a cool thing. But I also spend a lot of time on social media, and as you can see underneath my face there, I have a website, HarveyWritersGroup.com, where all my books can be purchased as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think that I Can Do Anything is your bestseller? What are some of your other titles?
In the children's realm, I have other books. The next book is called Alicia's Big Test, which uh, introduces children to the idea that they have to study for a test to learn.
Okay.
And so that's a pretty cool book. I also have a book that introduces Spanish called Amigo means friend.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's another cool idea where Spanish is largely becoming the language to know.
Yes.
I think it has been for several years now. And
Mm-hmm.
so for a first grade kid, it gives you a few words of elementary Spanish, but also it teaches how kids can work together. Um, the kids that know English are helping the kid that knows Spanish learn English, and vice versa. So it's a cool little way for kids to bond.
Okay.
Al- yeah. Also, another one of my titles is "What Do You Do When a Bully Picks on You?"
Mm-hmm.
So bullying has been around, and it seems like it's not going anywhere. However, it gives kids an idea. Hey, what can I do when somebody's bothering me? When somebody's calling me a name, or somebody's pushing me around? So
Okay.
that book introduces that, and also a new theme. I have a book called Anthony Breaks His Promise that
Oh,
introduces integrity and accountability. As the main character, Anthony has made a promise, made several promises that he hasn't kept. And of course, what happens when you don't keep a promise?
mm-hmm.
You know, people get mad. So,
Yes.
and they give him the 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 hand, and they don't want to talk to him anymore, and he's wondering why. So, we're introducing the themes of integrity and accountability.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Uh, well, it just occurred to me as well. The last book that's in the series is Kids Around the World. And
Mhm.
so the main character behind me, actually, Stevie, the main character, has grown up a little bit. And
Okay.
he's reading what life is like for kids in other countries. So I'm trying to fuel the fire for kids to go out and explore outside of their neighborhoods. You know,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
outside of their neighborhoods, outside their cities. It's a whole big world, and a lot of us, some people never get to explore them, and some people don't get to explore them until they're adults. And so I'm trying to feed that fire of kids wanting to go out and explore.
Wow. Um, I'm loving it. I just cannot believe how many people I have talked to, authors, and how they have so many enriching ideas, and they're all so vast and different. It's like we think that everything has been covered, but it speaks to your gift making room for you. No matter what, someone has that special thing to offer. So, and you're taking your concept to develop a type of conscious awareness of your behavior.
Absolutely. A lot of people will call it social emotional learning. Yeah, it's a phrase that's used in education, and it talks about kids' emotions, how they are feeling. A lot of times adults just tell a kid what to do without trying to understand what that kid is going through.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right. So here we go into social emotional learning, and we talk about the kid's actual experience going through something, what it's like for them to be bullied, how they're actually feeling, not just to point your finger at the bully and say stop, but how is that affecting the victim?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do you
Yeah.
offer solutions in your bullying book? I wanted to ask you that. What kind of types of solutions do you offer, or do I have to read the book?
Got to read the book. You
Well,
got to read the book.
you have to send it to me.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna
You
have to send it to me.
know,
Ah,
of course, it's a book for third graders, so we don't get overly deep in the analysis of everything, but it talks about experiences that are all too common
mhm.
and a short solution. Let's say that.
Okay. No, I'm really serious because my grandson, let me say, he co-authors this book with me, well, all of the books, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I've written about 6 or 7. It's a part of a series. But lately he's the oldest of 3. And he's 4. And his younger siblings are 2, and one is just about 1. And he's been experiencing, they're bothering his things. He was alone for a while, so he's never really had to share. So I've been asking him, well, how do you deal with that? And he keeps saying, I don't know. He's just, the sibling rivalry. Stop, don't touch my thing. I'm saying, how are you going to work with that? How are you going to deal with that? And he's like, I don't know, Grandma. He just doesn't know. So I'm providing that opportunity for him to think it through. What are you going to do? So that's why I asked you, what type of solutions are they, he's working out with the bullying type of thing? Because although we wouldn't call it bullying here, is in sibling rivalry, but it's still the same concept. How are you going to work and get along with your younger brother? And I can see and feel through you that the social worker coming out, or just in there, not coming out, is all the way in there.
Yeah, I think I was a social worker before I even got trained to be a social worker. It's just it's just a thing that you want to give to people, and you want to see people do better. You don't want to see people hurt. If you can see a solution, you want to try to help them reach that. So
Right.
that's just been me my entire life. And through writing for children, it's really um, sparked ideas and different methods and ways of how to be more creative with it. So from my own books that I write, I partner with other children's authors to try to get more messages out to more kids. So I came up with an idea of and well, I created a children's book fair. Now, of course, there are millions of other children's book fairs, but this one is targeted towards Black, and I could say Black and brown children, even though all children are welcome, of course, to read the books that are in the book fair. But 2 years ago, I did the first one. I decided to try it out, and I call it the Black Child Book Fair. And we did the first one in Chicago, and it was a tremendous success. It was just incredible how many people came out, and it was just unbelievable. So I took that momentum into the next year, which was 2020 last year. Now, luckily enough, we did a series. We did 3 cities: Chicago, St. Louis, and Indianapolis in February, right before COVID hit in March. So we got lucky though. COVID didn't affect us.
Right.
Yeah. So and again, we had tremendous success. We had great success in Chicago. We had tremendous success in Indianapolis. Those folks in St. Louis, we got to work on them a little more, but it still was enough momentum for us to move forward here, 2021, doubling the number of cities that we're doing in spring and summer from 3 to 6.
Okay.
And so we're moving forward with that, and got a lot of very exciting things that are going to happen from April through all the way to the end of July. A lot of great things that are going to happen, not just book fairs. Some of them are turning into book festivals.
Okay.
So it's just going to be incredible. And we're kicking it off in Chicago on April 24th, the day before my birthday. So it's got to be great.
Okay, gotta be great. Okay, that sounds amazing. Is that vibe like for them?
Oh, man. It's a pretty cool vibe because people get to come in and they actually meet the author who wrote the book. So that, for one, is like pretty amazing for a lot of kids. They're like, wow, they see the guy or lady who wrote the book. And so they can identify who this person is. When you come to one of our book fairs, of course, we have friendly people. Uh, we have music. We got people selling cookies. This year in Chicago, we partnered with a Black-owned ice cream shop.
Oh, wow, that's nice. That's
That
nice.
that is going to be so hype. We're really excited about that. But so it's kind of like a festival situation where you have an author at a table and you come up and you meet the author and they tell you about their book, and kids and parents decide whether or not they want to purchase it.
Do you have a picture booth?
A picture booth? No.
Get a picture booth. When I was coming up, I'd never met an author before. Definitely not an illustrator. And
Right.
I didn't meet an author until I went to a book signing or something, grown, college.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this fascination with authors because I'd never met one, but we read so many books. There's never been an author to come into the school, no signings, anything like that. When my kids had it, they had things like that, but we never had it. So that's why I asked you, what was the vibe like for the kids? Because I believe that it's just an amazing opportunity to put those faces with those authors and creators, and
Sure.
make it real for them. And also for them to aspire to be like these authors and know that they can be. One of the authors, who's a doctor, orthopedic surgeon, one of only 6 Blacks in the whole United States, female. And she created books called My Doctor Looks Like Me. So it's the Look Like Me series.
Well, technology has made a lot of things more, possible now. When people come to these book fairs now, they have their cameras, their phones, their cameras, so they can take pictures of their child and the author, and they can have that always. Not to mention with Facebook and Instagram, people are posting. I myself, I post pictures that I take of kids holding my books or me posing with them, so that memory is there forever.
Yes. That's amazing. I love it. How long have you been a social worker?
Oh, good night.
Before you said you've always been one. So
Yeah,
even before the job title.
I think I was first employed 93, 94, something like that.
Okay.
First employed as a child welfare specialist in 93 or 94 in Chicago. And I went back then, we had really large housing projects. And a lot of our clientele would be in those housing projects. And I think I had went into, maybe I had clients in maybe throughout my career, and all of those, most of them are torn down now, but I had ventured into every housing project in Chicago.
Wow.
It was, there were some moments. There were some moments, no doubt about it.
I went from there to being a correctional officer. Well, not correctional officer, but a youth officer, juvenile hall. And so I've always kind of been around that children, mentoring type of environment, So.
Yeah, it takes a special kind of person with a big heart and a lot of patience to be in social services, because you're going to run into some things that you just don't run into in a normal or a different profession. Currently, I work for a program, a counseling program uh, for teen boys, and it's a really great program called the Becoming a Man program. And I've developed some very good skills through working in this program. And I think a lot of great people work for it. So we're out there still trying to help people even me so many years later.
Are you still in social work?
I am. I still work for the Becoming a Man program. For
Um,
6 years now, I believe. It's through a private agency, and it's actually in is developed from Chicago and moved on to several different cities now.
oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's growing.
Okay. I we also did something called well, the name of our business was Diva Darlings and Debonair Dudes, and the focus was on um, etiquette and teaching young men pull up those pants. The young guys come in and teach them about pulling up their pants, right?
Hmm.
But you end up in a store or in the mall or at the pizzeria or something, and you see the child with their parents and their dad maybe having his pants down to his knees.
Oh wow.
So that, so that was very difficult to
Hmm.
try to work with, because you have these parents that are coming in and you're trying to tell them, we're going to help your kid with etiquette, and then you see them like, well, you need to come on and enjoy the program too. So it moved from kids to like young adults to young moms and dads.
Um, yeah, that's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So I understand your pain.
Yeah, that was some pain. Fun, but still, it takes some heart to go in. You can't tell the
Absolutely.
son when the son is going home saying, "Dad, maybe you should pull up your pants." Nah, who told you that? Well, Miss So and So.
Right. Right.
So yeah. So that was a little trying. Now you self-publish all of your books.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
and like I think most people who are you, I will say that you need to do your research on what it is that you're trying to do. And I went into it, my very first book, just falling into what I was looking for, trying to accomplish. I didn't have the knowledge, and I didn't know that, and I didn't know to compare prices with this, compare prices with that, printing, uh, the cost of your book cover, etc. I just went with kind of sort of the first things that I found, and I found later that hey, maybe I paid a little too much for the printing of this book, or I paid too much for the cost of designing the cover of my book. So through that experience, I thought to myself, man, there really ought to be a mentoring group for beginning authors that would have, taught me a lot and possibly save me some money and help me with some connections, made some networking, etc. And at that time, there wasn't one. There wasn't anything around that I could find. So I created it. And I became the founder of the Chicago Black Authors Network, and
Mm.
which was now, man, 10 years ago. And we are still going strong. We still have a membership here in Chicago, and we partner not only in learning about the business of publishing, but we also share resources and we attend large literary events together. So it's a really cool thing to have a group that does what you do and that you can talk to about certain things you can bounce ideas off of, and they can tell you, hey man, this is a great idea, this is something that you should try, or man, I tried that and it sucked, don't do that.
Yeah.
Save yourself the time and the money. So that's what we do.
Well, you know what? That's exactly what this platform is leaning toward. I run into so many people that have so much to offer, not only their books and their stories, but like you said, some have self published, Some have hybrid published. Some have done it the traditional manner. Some have spent most of their money in illustration and self-publishing. So I have just kind of gathered a flock, I would so to speak, of individuals that are looking for certain aspects. Now these are the ones that have already published and bought their and done their books, and you're going after, those that are wanting to get into it. And that's one of the questions that I like to ask: how can you help, or what advice can you give to upcoming authors, or those that are interested in starting to write their books? Having this platform has given me an opportunity to meet people like me. And I am just in love with this whole thing. When you're talking, I know what you're talking about. I
Sure.
feel what you're feeling. What was it like to get that first book in your hand?
Well, Faye, I consider, some of the people that have started attending as vendors, my literary family as an extension of that. So you are welcome to come and join us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm already family.
yeah. There's a lot of really nice people, and I find myself being looked after more than more than me, who is the actual host, who's supposed to be looking after people. I find them looking after me. So
Absolutely.
please, we are looking for positive people to be a part of this process to spread literature, spread literacy across the country. And we're now spring and summer doing 6 cities, but we're going to be doing possibly another 6 in the fall.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
know we talked about that.
by all means, yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's all. I'm asking him now, would you be willing to go to a book fair? Like, what can we do for you? And, well, I want to get my books out, but, are you willing to, like you said, go to a fair, be a part of a group, or, and try to push yourself out there, be a speaker, help someone else, pile up, team up. And it'll take a little coaching. And
For some people, getting out there is difficult. Like you said, introverts, it is difficult. And, occasionally you might, even for extroverts, occasionally you might freeze up, or, something just might be intimidating for that day. But once you've had the opportunity to speak, multiple times, that kind of goes away.
can you show me one of your books? You have one new, hold it up.
Yeah, hold on one second. There we go.
Oh, Amigo. I love that one. Amigo
Yeah.
means friend. Just flip through the pages a little bit.
Sure. Let's try to.
Oh wow, I love those. Very bold.
Oh yeah, my illustrator is one of those people that you were talking about. He's, really good illustrator, and we sit down and collaborate on everything, but got to twist his arm to get him out there.
Yeah. Awesome. So do you use the same illustrator all the time?
I have used the same illustrator all the time. He was the guy that did the first one, I Can Do Anything, and it was so very well received that
Wow.
I said I got to stick with this guy.
I love those.
Yeah, and that is the teacher of the class. His name is Mr. Marley. As you can see, he's got dreads. So where did I get that idea from?
I had no idea, Marley.
Yeah, so
That is amazing. I
so
love
we're
it. And I love the big font.
yeah, this is for say first grade. So we keep it big and keep it bright.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Amigo means friend.
Wow. So are you thinking of doing anything like maybe a full Spanish book? Or have you had any of your books translated in Spanish?
No, not yet. Actually, I've got so much right now on my plate with putting together the book fairs and actually still trying to finish the next book in the story. I mean, in the series, that I haven't gone that route yet. So maybe once I get that book, because most of my other books have really come to me no problem, but this one has been a little difficult. So once
What's the title of that one?
Captain Candace and the Earth Challenge. So we're learning about it's a dual lesson here. For the first lesson is female empowerment,
Mhm.
and the second lesson is we're learning about the extreme conditions of the Earth.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to give it all away, but
Like a
uh,
global warming.
uh, sort of. But just the where's
Extreme.
the hottest place on the Earth? Where's the coldest place on the
Okay.
Earth?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What I like to do is ask you, what kind of advice do you have for upcoming authors?
Um, so what I would advise for upcoming authors, one, read. Read books in the genre that you want to go into. So if you want to be a children's author, read some of the better children's books so you know what it takes to have a successful book simply by the content. We'll see how the story develops, see how the protagonist and the antagonist, how they are developed and what the actions that they take. Look at the vocabulary so that you don't write too above the level that you're trying to write for. Make sure that you do that. Also, or to below the level that you're writing for. Make sure that you read. Do some research. You got to do your research on publishing, marketing, etc. Attend a workshop, a writer's workshop. That will help sharpen your skills. Those are the kinds of things that I recommend doing.
Okay. Is there anything else that you've done that perhaps you could share that you would definitely not have done had you done more research?
Would not have done. Uh, well, and uh, uh, I think a lot of times as authors, as newcomers, we look at the opportunities. We think the opportunities that are going to be fantastic, and we don't research them. Even my own book fairs, you got to look at who's coming, how many people you think are coming, and and then make a decision. And how much is this book fair going to cost me to attend? Some of these larger expos cost upwards towards $700 to $1,000 to attend, and that's a lot of books that you got to sell just to break even. So it has to make economic sense for you to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do your homework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can get excited about something and you want to go. And I'm impulsive. I get excited and I want to go. I want to go to this different city and sell all my books. But you sit back and think about it. If it's going to cost me $700 to get just to pay the fee to attend, and then I got to pay all the other fees to travel and eat and sleep, am I really going to make that money back?
Yeah.
Or or am I going just for the experience?
You only have to do that once. Maybe. You only have to do that once.
Yeah, yeah. So that is something that you always have to pay attention to. The bottom line, how much is this going to cost? And how much can I expect back?
Right, right. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, well, the mistake that a lot of people make is thinking that, I've written the book and now I'm going to make all this money and it's just going to come to me. No, writing a book and being an author is a grind. You have to be willing. The writing is the easy part. After you've written a book, then you got to figure out everything else, and everything else takes work. You got to get out there. If you're not, some $1 million author whose company is going to do everything else for you, you got to get out there and grind. You got to be on social media telling people about your book and where you're going to be and how to get that book. And you have to do that. Nobody else is doing that for you. That has to be something that you're willing to put the time in to do. Whether it be Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you got to make sure that you have a presence there. But then again, you have to be out in the public and you have to go to book fairs and, tell people I'm an author. Here's my book. You have to develop a 60-second speech about yourself and about that book. Your elevator pitch. You have to be able to get an elevator pitch together. All of that is included in being an author. It's not something that you can just do, kind of part-time if you're expecting to sell books. Because if you do it that way, you're not going to sell anything.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Darryl, it has been a great time, and I've learned so much and have so much more to offer.
Thank you, Faye. HarveyWritersGroup.com. You can see the events and you can see my books and you can order from my website. And also be on the lookout for the Black Child Book Fair Spring Tour. Chicago, April 24th. Louisville, Kentucky, May 15th. Tulsa, Oklahoma, May 23rd. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, June 19th, Juneteenth. And Silver Spring, Maryland, July 10th. And Charlotte, North Carolina, July 31st.
You have all of that in your head?
Yep.
So, how long are the book fairs? Just a day, or because you're moving
just a day. Just a day.
How long is it? An all day?
I think Louisville and Philadelphia might be all day. The rest are probably about 5 hours, 10 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m.
Okay.
These are book fairs that I created, and there is a fee for the vendor, the author, to attend, but it's definitely nowhere near $700.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Awesome to know. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to, you said you're going to be coming to California, so we'll see about that too. Thank you so much, Mr. Darryl Harvey, for being a part of the show. Fay Michelle and Comfort Legacies, we appreciate having you. And I hope that you as an audience have gleaned something from Mr. Darryl and may help you to become an author or be better at your craft. So I thank you, and we will talk to you again, and hopefully we'll get you back, Mr. Darryl.
Love to. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.